Welcome to the Transform Sales Podcast, where forward-thinking business leaders come to share their experiences and ideas, learn from each other, and amplify their results together.
All right, guys, welcome to another session of the Transform Sales Podcast Sales Software Review. Today we have a special guest, which is Miranda from Experlogix, and today we're going to have a interesting conversation regarding simplifying complex quotes for IT service companies. How you doing, Miranda?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today, Dave?
I'm doing great. Thank you for being on the show today.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, give us a little bit of background of how you started at the company or how this whole idea came up so that we could go ahead and ask you some quick questions just to get our audience engaged. But before we go for the question, just give us a little bit of background of, the things that you're doing at the company, how you're helping your buyers, and then we could get started.
Yeah, so my name's Miranda Powell, as Dave had mentioned. I'm the director of marketing here at Experlogix. So I help oversee a lot of our digital channels. I also help drive relationships with strategic partners who resell our products and solutions. And essentially where Experlogix sits in this space is, we have three different products, and we're essentially a product suite for painless growth, right? So if you're an organization and you have a variety of different products, services, you sell to multiple geographies, we can help you in a variety of different ways. The one that we're going to be focusing on today is going to be our Configure Price Quote, or our CPQ software. Really takes the headache and any of the challenges or errors out of your quoting process. But then we also have document automation, which can help kind of alleviate some of the administrative burden related to document creation, proposals, renewals, invoices, onboarding documents, so on and so forth, so that people aren't sitting there, copying, pasting names and address informations into some sort of Microsoft Word template, right? And the last one's going to be digital commerce, which helps B2B organizations step into the 21st century. We all buy everything online today, right? Why should it be any different when your customers want to purchase something from you? So that can be done through customer portals, mobile apps, so on and so forth. And our products are not standalone software. We don't want to be another piece of software that you're adding to an already complex tech stack. So we integrate with all Microsoft ERP products, as well as Microsoft CRM and Salesforce CRM. So that way your salespeople aren't jumping from one system to the other. They're able to have all of this functionality really in one place.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And from the top of your head, what will be the three main business challenges you're seeing a lot of company experience before they even access your tools?
Yeah, so long times to quote, errors in the quoting process, which can take away from your, credibility in the sales cycle, as well as your customer satisfaction, as well as, increasing the average order value on sales and making it easier for you to onboard new sales team members, right? Like the biggest challenge most new sales members have when it comes to, selling isn't necessarily like the presentation or doing a demo. It's okay, they want X, Y, and Z. How do I get them a quote that's, really covers everything that they're looking to do, regardless of how complex or custom it is? Because at the end of the day, today, we all want things custom. I don't log into Netflix without it telling me what it thinks I should watch. It should be the same experience for people who are, buying in the business to business realm.
Absolutely. And what were some alternatives that your customers were using before approaching you guys for a solution?
Yeah, so typically they're using a lot of disparate, unintegrated systems. Maybe they have something for quoting, another thing for like 3D product visualization, something else that gives them insight into, product configurations and inventory. Most often we see people that have built this, monster of an Excel spreadsheet, right? And so there's a tab for pricing, there's a tab for product configurations, for discounts, so on and so forth. We actually call these Franken sheets, because they're essentially monsters that have grown and taken on a life of their own. And very often in these organizations too, there's like one person who has the access to, edit these spreadsheets, to make changes. So if there's a new pricing or product rollout, you're waiting for this spreadsheet to be, updated. Versus, all of that information already lives somewhere. Why don't you have a system that just sits on top of your ERP or CRM and pulls that in, to an interface that really guides your sales team through creating a quote or a proposal for a potential customer?
No, one thing that you said was pretty interesting is what if that person that's using that Excel leaves? Let's say in
Yeah,
a bad terms,
exactly.
right? Who's going to take
Exactly.
over
We
that?
talk about tribal knowledge all the time. You see it at organizations where there's a handful of people who really hold the keys to the castle, so to speak.
Yeah,
And if those people leave, you're in a very challenging place in terms of, okay, no one else knows how to use this. There's no kind of like technology or written documentation to help other people do it. And so we're really trying to get past that and, at the end of the day, help organizations be in a better place to scale and grow over time while also
sure.
future proofing their business.
Awesome. And what are some of the challenges that your customers were running into with those alternatives that your software helped them overcome?
Yeah, so big burden, on IT, which IT has a million other things that are going on and it's not necessarily willing to just drop everything in order to help sales create a quote or answer a question. Customers sitting around waiting a good amount of time in order to receive a quote from you. And then, if you bring a new product to market, you know, then people don't effectively know how to sell it. They're scared of selling that new product because they don't know the pricing, the information. So they'll just kind of stick to what they know.
Yeah,
Obviously, misquotes and errors are a big one. And then, we already talked about some of the issues as it relates to knowledge transfer and tribal knowledge that can exist at an organization, which puts them in a very scary place if they're experiencing
100%.
any degree of employee turnover.
Absolutely. So one of the things that our audience loves to also see is the actual demo of the product. So if you could kind of walk us through those features that are helping, your customers overcome those challenges that they're facing, would it be something that you could do for us? Kind of walk us through it, see how it works, see the ease of it, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, let me go
Awesome.
ahead and so just want to set some expectations here with this demo environment is this is kind of standalone. So it's not integrated to any type of CRM or ERP. You're essentially looking at like the car without the battery or the engine here. So
Yeah.
it's not the full functionality, but it gives you a good glimpse in terms of what we're able to offer our customers. So we'll start here, at the top line. If you're creating a quote for somebody, again, we have a lot of, really enterprise global organizations. So the first thing that you'll go and do is you'll select the contract region. Let's say that
Mhm.
that's going to be North America. That will automatically, as you saw, update your price book as well as the contract currency. So you're no longer
Nice.
having to, translate from, English into Spanish or from USD into euros. This is all going to be done automatically for you. The next thing that we'll look at is the contract term. This is going to be broken down in years. So you'll select, 1, 3, 5. Obviously, if you offer 2 or 6 or 10-year types of terms, those would be
Mhm.
configured at the start of your onboarding process. But changing that will automatically update the end date that you see here, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So next thing we're going to move into is different bundles that people offer. So, we're talking about IT services companies today. And an IT services company, what really lends to the complexity of their quoting is the fact that sometimes they're selling a software, sometimes there's some hardware that they have to purchase, and then there's some services that they're doing on top of that. Each one of those have different, margins and pricing calculations. So things can get a little bit crazy as you're starting to go through the quoting process when again, it includes so many different types of, services, products, software, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and, for example, select this 450 rack server system. If I click it, you're actually going to see a pop-up for a suggestion for an add-on. So kind of going back to helping organizations, increase their average order value, or if you have a new sales team member on board, they're just really trying to get their arms around, selling the base product, right? They might miss out on some of the cross-sell or upsell opportunities
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
some of the services that are going to make sense based on what they've bought. So that's one example. We can go ahead and we can click into the 150 tower server system. You'll see some different suggestions. So you can add or remove the ones that, your customer is buying. This is also great in the use cases where you're actually on the phone with the customer. And so, they said they're interested in the 150 tower server system. And then you can talk to them about, hey, a lot of people, when they're purchasing that actually will buy the Red Hat Enterprise Linux, just so things are a little bit easier for them. It's going to be, included in your price point. so on and so forth. So again, making sure that there's no missed opportunities when it comes to cross sells or upsells, so that you can increase the average order of each purchase that is going to be made, right?
Awesome.
Awesome. So now let's choose a subscription. So if we go into subscriptions, I'm going to select the red satellite that's going to be priced per virtual machine as listed here. And then you're going to see this pop up right down below. So you're going to have a few different options. You can do auto renew, and then it's going to generate a renewal for you right here. It'll be including the price. But if you want to change what that renewal date is as you're going through the negotiation process with a customer, it's really one of the great things about CPQ is it makes you a master negotiator, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, so you do it that way. You can do the same thing for the on-site services if that's something that you're going to be offering your customers. But we're going to skip past that just so this demo doesn't end up running for 20 or 30 minutes here. Let's go into servers. So, right, we've talked about some of the software, we've talked about some of the services, but now they need to purchase some hardware, right? And let's say that the customer has made you aware that they need or are looking for about 1 TB when it comes to storage. You would add that here, apply the filter, and then you're going to see all the servers that have the amount of storage that the customer is looking for. Same thing, if you were to type 350 into the description, hit apply, you're able to kind of filter through or get to, closer to the option that your customer is looking for. Obviously, you can do that here by price, subcategory, the amount of memory, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and select server number 7, and we'll hit save. And now you're seeing all of the pricing information in there, what's included in the price. There's a few different add-ons as it relates to network cards, storage cards that you can go ahead and select as well. Change the quantities in here. It's going to update the price automatically. And then you can choose whether or not this is included in the price, or, maybe they're like, hey, we just want to move forward with, this bundle initially, and then maybe we'll add, the network cards on a little bit later. Send me a different quote for the network card because I need to talk to, my manager, my boss before getting approval on that, right?
Got it.
You'll see a high-level summary in terms of where you're sitting at the bottom in terms of your year one price, your recurring price, so on and so forth. And then you can go to pricing summary here in order to see it more line item by line item. Now, looking at this, now this isn't necessarily friendly on the eyes, right? Like, you want to have your own branding in a proposal. You might have terms or conditions that are going to be specific to a piece of hardware that they've purchased or some of the services that they've bought into. So if you click this button here in terms of report, that's when you would go and hit quote. And then again, as a part of the setup process, you're adding in your own branding. So this is going to be an Experlogix specific one. We've got the, cover page shown here, subscription quote, when it was created, and then all of your different line items, pricing, so that there's no confusion there. And then at the bottom, again, these will change out depending on the products that were purchased in terms of the terms and conditions, what warranties are going to be included, how our organization is going to work with your organization, and some of the other things that you're going to need to sign off for, that aren't necessarily, what you're buying, right?
Yeah, it felt like super simple. I feel like just shopping on Christmas when you're trying to go on Apple or something, right?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Mixing both hardware and software. I don't know. I haven't seen something so complex turn so simple within seconds, right?
Yeah, that's really the name of the game. And again, we work with a
Yeah.
variety of different industries, but really what makes somebody a great fit for Experlogix CPQ is that complexity factor, right? If you're selling a piece of software, it's always the same price. There's very limited options. You might not need a CPQ, system. But, more and more frequently today, we're seeing organizations want to be able to offer, custom quotes or custom offerings or things that are a little bit more complex with different types of add-ons. But it doesn't mean that it has to come with this additional headache just because they want to offer, a little bit more personalization or customability to their product offering. So
No, and
that
also
is
like
the
offering something so complex and individual. Like here, the fact that you can mix all of them, and now you have a quote that I can go back to my team and actually make quicker decisions. And I feel like doing it the traditional way leaves a lot of doubts at the table, right? And the idea is here
yeah.
to reduce those sales cycles, right?
Or it leaves room for error. And if you send, a potential customer over a quote that has an error, and it makes them kind of doubt you as an organization, or would add frustrations in terms like, okay, if this is a glimpse into what working with this company is going to be like,
Yeah.
maybe I'm not interested. You don't want to lose out on deals because you're either one, too slow, two, you can't accommodate some of the, custom configurations that they want, or three, you kind of misquote them initially and make them doubt, how credible your business really is.
No, and there's moments where I've been like, for example, I try buying a product, and then the quote comes in incorrect. I feel that there's going to be some hidden fees in the future, right? Because of
Yeah.
the way that they mishandled the quote. So I can't imagine with this, especially at those price ranges, right? That's
Yeah.
definitely going to cost a lot to a lot of companies, especially if there's a lot more products added into the cross sell, right?
Absolutely. And then this is again just CPQ, but what's awesome is when you integrate CPQ with our document automation technology, you'll have some additional options past the point of just generating the quote. So from here, there would be buttons saying like, send to an e-signature platform in order to generate the signature, just send directly to the customer. Or after the signature is collected, you could create a workflow that would save that to your device so that you're ensuring compliance and that any signed customer contract is stored exactly where it needs to be. And then, you're getting notifications when they're up for a renewal, seeing exactly what they had purchased before. And then you're in way better of a position to have those, renewal conversations as well. So not even great for just the initial buy, but for existing customers. And again, some of those renewal conversations as well that you might be having.
Yeah, is making sure that the experience is always the same, regardless of how long the contract is, how many products are involved, right? But one of the questions that our audience tend to ask a lot is when it comes to support channels, what are the best channels for me as a potential buyer to reach out to you guys? Is it chat? Is it phone? Is it email? Where do you think happens to be the best successful channel for you guys?
That's a great question. So we do offer 24/7 dedicated support. We have a support portal. We have a knowledge base that's full with additional, resources, documents, and everything like that. The other thing we offer is custom training courses. So if we're helping you set up your, instance, we're usually working with somebody in IT or in product to do the actual, configuration or implementation of the CPQ system. But the salespeople are going to be the ones using it at the end of the day. So we'll train your IT team, but then we'll also go in and we'll train your sales team. So yeah, dedicated support. You'll usually have, an account manager who's going to be checking in with you, seeing how things are running. And then, we're always available to hop on the phone and kind of handle any of those issues as they're coming up.
Got it. And when it comes to the price ranges, how does that kind of work out with you
Yeah,
guys?
so it's going to be priced per user. Obviously, there's going to be volume-based discounts. So the more users, the cheaper the price per user. And then there's usually going to be some sort of implementation fee. Now, we can be as involved or as uninvolved in the implementation process is really what makes sense. Some of our clients, they don't have a huge IT team, or if they do, they're kind of bogged down with other projects at the same time that CPQ is being implemented. So we can work in like a hybrid model, where we're doing this together, or we can take on the implementations ourselves. So that will also dictate a little bit more about the price point as well.
Okay, so it's not either or, it's an end. That's great.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. When it comes to, let's say I decide to purchase the product, right? So what will be the tasks, deliverables, and or people that will be involved in setting up the software for this use case? And how long would it typically take for me to feel that I've reached my full productivity with this tool?
Yeah, so the biggest part of the setup is going to be the connection or integration to your CRM or ERP, and making sure that any of those fields or pieces of information that live in those other systems are mapped appropriately to the CPQ system. In terms of the people involved, again, it's usually IT and somebody from product who are helping with the implementation. But again, if those people are totally bootstrapped and they don't have the bandwidth to really take this on, we can step in and support. We could do the implementation for them. A lot of our clients too have a technology partner that sold them their Microsoft Dynamics instance or is like an outsourced Salesforce developer, and we'll work with them to do the implementation as well. In terms of the timeline, can be done as quickly as a month. We've seen it happen before. I don't, that's definitely not the norm. It's usually around 3 to 6 months before you're seeing kind of the full productivity and benefits from implementing a CPQ solution.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And for example, let's say if I decide to be a user of this product, what would be the KPIs that I should look out for, right? If I want to feel like I'm being successful with this tool, and make it worth my time.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of our customers, one of the big ones is going to be that time to quote. We have a handful of clients that have been able to reduce their time to quote by over 95%. A lot of people usually know that off the top of their head, like, hey, it takes me, a couple of days to create a quote for a customer. Now that's, 30 or 45 minutes. Like, that's a great KPI. And then kind of piggybacking off of that as well is going to be your time to sale or your time to recognized revenue. CPQ really should be an accelerator to your sales process. You're no longer
100%.
having, a lot of the back and forth calls with the customer. You can be building this out while you're on the phone with them and send them over, a quote at the end of that conversation. No more like, hey, let me go back to my product team and see if we can do this, or hey, let me, figure out what kind of discounts we like. I didn't talk about discounting too much, but you can, bake in some different discount parameters. A lot of organizations will just innately let people, discount up to 10%. But let's say they want to offer like a 15 or 20%, then that would get routed over to a manager for approval instantaneously, saying, hey, Miranda's a salesperson, wants to offer, CloudTask a 20% discount. Here's the reasons why. Do you approve or not approve? Another one is going to be, number of errors or misquotes, particularly when we're selling to manufacturing companies. If you, submit an order for something that they end up building and they build that wrong, that can cost tens of thousands of dollars. And in those cases, CPQ pays for itself immediately, even if they just have one of those errors that happens every single year. And then as I was going through that demo too, you saw kind of the opportunities for like upsell and cross sell. So you could also look at, what your average order value is, because you should see that increase. Some of our clients that has increased, from 30 to 50%, just because it's so much easier for them to see and visualize those opportunities instead of just being like, I'm just trying to focus on like getting this quote out and getting it done correctly. I can't even think outside of, what they're asking for and ask them to purchase something additional. So yeah, time to quote and sales process timeline, number of misquotes is going to be a big one. And then lastly is going to be that average, deal size or average order value as well.
No, I feel like two main takeaways here is the speed, right? Sometimes when the quickest one to respond to clients are usually the ones that get the sell, right? So imagine being the first one to send out a quote. Obviously, that's your success right there, right? But also, I feel like these quotes are also going to help the buyer go back to the market and see what options are there, and then come back and realize with us is a lot easier and faster and more efficient, right? So for those that are not using Experlogix, they're being crushed by the competitors, right?
Yeah, and typically like with some of the competitors too, you'll really just receive almost like a table with like your different like line items and whatnot. And a lot of times in sales conversations, you and I both know this, the person that you're presenting to is not always the person that's making the decision. So they have to go and sell your solution internally. And if they're just working with this like, Excel table of different, line item pricing versus like a fully baked proposal that has like pictures and graphics and terms and conditions and how this product is used, who's going to end up winning that deal? Which one's going to be easier for your champion to push internally at the organization? So yeah, that was a great point that you just brought up there, Dave.
No, absolutely. Because the way that I see, if they use the traditional method, that's going to take at least an hour of meeting, right? Here's like 15 minutes. We already understand exactly what we're getting into. We can make a decision. It's worth a buck, right?
Yeah.
So Awesome. Well, is there anything else you wish to share with the audience? I feel like we covered the few things that we wanted to cover. But general, I think it was very great. You're helping a lot of people reduce the time, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, all I would say is, reach out to us, follow us on LinkedIn. We're doing a lot now with AI and have some generative chat features that are going to be built into the CPQ platform. So if you can imagine almost like a chat GPT or co-pilot type of sidebar and being able to say, hey, I have a customer who's looking for, this type of storage, this, and that, they will go in and pre-select the options for you. So,
awesome.
think of this as kind of where we stand today, but the next couple of months, this product I think is going to look very different as we start to bring in some of those more AI and generative types of chat features. So we're always trying to push the envelope and stay on top of the shifts in market demands and customer needs. And right now, everybody's talking about AI. And so that is something that is absolutely front of mind for us as we're going into 2025 as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. For those that are looking to reduce the complexity of your quotes, and you happen to be an IT company or offering IT services, this will be the best option for you. Miranda will be here to support you, a great team behind her. And any questions that you may have, as she mentioned, she'll be available on LinkedIn. For those that want to try on the tool, it will be on the description below. So feel free to give it a shot. See if you also get the same benefits that Miranda mentioned. Miranda, thank you for being on the show today. Anything else?
No, I think that's it, Dave. I appreciate you having me. This has been fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for the Transform Sales Podcast Sales Software Review. I will catch you guys on the next one.
All right. Bye, everyone.